Yo, it's your boy Uncle Pre with another episode of the Unfiltered Podcast. This time I'm in the studio again doing a solo episode by myself because that's what solo means. But I want to hit up a hot topic that's come up in regards to when you should call it a day with someone. And I'm going to try and make it more specifically around the whole relationship situation kind of thing. But you get the gist. It's applicable to all areas. Because I feel like it's one of the biggest challenges that we all go through. You know, when it comes to leaving and walking away, there's this fear of being alone, and sometimes we just settle and we just deal with it, and it causes us to be anxious. It causes us to be pissed off. It really plays with our emotions, and it's just not healthy for us. We wouldn't advise it to anyone else. That's the bottom line of it. So why are we doing it to ourselves? And it comes from this fear of being alone, you know, what people might say, what aunties and uncles may throw in regards to their comments and their opinions. But you get the gist, right? And I want to highlight 5 key things that I feel are like warning lights or red flags, if you want to call it, for when you possibly need to think to yourself, shit, I need to call it a day with this person. And they are energy, and when it's not being reciprocated; wavelength, if you're both on 2 different ones; number 3, when the personality doesn't outweigh the look. Sorry, it is what it is. If your personality ain't cutting it anymore, then it's like, what do you do? I'll get onto it. Number 4, when they just don't understand you. And finally, when you're constantly clashing, if they struggle to accept where you're coming from, they just don't understand, and it's a one-way street, that would be a warning sign for me to say bye. But anyway, let me get into it. I'm going to try and be a bit quick around it as well. I don't want to like waffle as I have been doing on these episodes. So we're going to try and keep it nice, short and tight. But number 1, energy. Energy in any relationship situation is huge, whatever it is. That first date, the initial connection, that first swipe right, if the energy isn't there, if it's non-existent, is there any point? Let's be honest, you're not going to want to play ball with someone who really isn't playing ball with you. Yet some of us, regardless to our situation right now, still may want to play ball with these people. Why? Why are you doing that to yourselves? Why are you putting yourself in those scenarios? Fearful? Worried what someone might say? You're too deep into this relationship right now? Like, come on. And I get it. Sometimes people will throw out to me, yo, they gave me so much energy once upon a time. It's slowly fading. And I get that we all live 9 to 5 lives and everyone's doing their own thing and people are busy and people have got just shit to do. I get it. But if you're in this scenario right now where someone can't pick up the phone to text you to say, how are you? How's your day been? I'm so sorry. Apologize for not being there. If someone can't pick up the phone to just wish you good night and see how your day's been, to catch up with you and to see how you really are, is that cool? Like me personally, I don't think that's cool. Like I was in scenarios where when I was coaching to late hours of the evenings with girls that I was speaking to, I wouldn't be in a position where I could speak to them. But I would try and make it up the best way I could. And if they didn't respect that, if they felt they deserved more, I'd hands up and say, yes, you do. I apologize for that. I can't do anything more about it because I have clients based out in America and it's a bit difficult for me. But respectfully, maybe it's best we part ways. I took ownership of it. But certain scenarios, people right now, they didn't take ownership of it. And for those on the receiving end of it, they just deal with it. Like, yo, that's not cool. Like if you had a friend who moaned all the time, was whiny, was just arrogant, irritating, they pissed you off, it was always their way, they picked the dinner dates, they picked drinks, they just picked all of this shit, right? Eventually over time, you're going to want to stop hanging out with them. Why? Because you never get your own way. Maybe you'll start hanging out with people who possibly give you that kind of better energy because it's reciprocated. Where do you want to go today? Oh yeah, I'm down for that. Oh, I want to go here. Yeah, let's back it. It bounces, it works. If someone always says, yo, I only want to go to this restaurant, this bar, this time, nah, safe, bye, do your own thing because I've got a life to live and I've got other shit to do, unfortunately. Like, it is what it is, right? You'd stop hanging out with that person. So if you're in this situation right now where this person isn't giving you the energy you truly deserve, like, what are you doing? Why are you still there? But anyway, I'll let you sit with that. Number 2, wavelength. Wavelength is a big one because sometimes we jump well in and we're not, and this is more for like when you start dating and we're on 2 different wavelengths, but we just want to like rush the process and get into a relationship and marry me and all of that shit. Like, no, if you're on 2 different wavelengths, it's just not going to work. Me specifically, I like traveling. I haven't traveled as much as I'd like to, but the idea of being able to travel with a partner is something I want to throw out there. If they're not on that wavelength, what does that mean? I want to work abroad at some points. You know, I'd love to do a podcast in America and have American guests on. That'd be amazing. Yo, let me call up Jay Shetty. Yo, you ready? Let's go. But you know what I mean? Like, there are so many things I'd like to do. And if my partner at the time or currently doesn't really want to like do that, is that going to create difficulties? Are we then on the same wavelength? And that doesn't mean that she needs to be exactly like me and do what I do. But at the same time, like, is this bouncing off each other the right way or not? Food for thought. Another thing that comes up is, especially in this modern day and age, and whether or not you're younger, maybe it may be applicable to you, but if you're older, possibly it does as well, a lot more. The future timeline and the plans. When do you want to have kids? When do you want to get married? When do you want to settle down? What's your thoughts on getting a mortgage together? Where do you want to live? And all of that bullshit. Like, it plays a part. And if you're not on the same wavelength, it creates a challenge. Because if you're like at two different places where someone wants to live there closer to their home and you want to live closer to your home or whatever it is, can you really make this work? Spontaneity, cultural aspects. Don't even get me started about beliefs and religion right now, but these are things right now that can really play a part. If someone's not really flexible, doesn't really want to compromise in regards to where you come from, but at the same time you don't actually want to do the same either, it creates a challenge long term. So it's definitely something worth considering right now in your situation, your relationship, whatever it is that you want to fucking call it. If you're not on the same wavelength, and I'll let you define your wavelength, is it worth pursuing? I don't know. Number 3 was... oh, okay, cool. Number 3. When the personality doesn't outweigh the looks. All right, now some people might call me shallow for this, and I couldn't give a shit because I strongly believe that looks initially looks are an important factor when it comes to dating someone, getting into a relationship, and like you don't really necessarily want to be with someone you're not attracted to, right? That's how it kind of all boils down. Like, you don't swipe right based on a personality. You don't understand that. You can't understand someone's personality off a dating app. Likewise, you are initially attracted by someone, and then you get to know them, and then the personality then becomes on par, right? And if anyone here tells me that I'm chatting shit about personality not being equally as important from the get-go, we need to have a chat, because I feel like you are lying. But that being said, enough jokes aside, me personally, attractiveness is key. If you find someone hot, you're more inclined to want to get to know them and find out whether or not there's a vibe, etc., etc. Now, let's just say you're dating someone, great looks, fantastic, gets you off your chair, like, whoa, great, good stuff. Damn, you fine girl. Boy, jeez, your trim looks fine. Or whatever it is that's going on, right? It's fantastic. It feels great. They look great. You feel like you're going to vibe well together. Fantastic. But if their personality doesn't outweigh their looks, and i.e. what I mean by that is they're spoiled, they're a brat, they're a bitch, they're annoying, he's a dick, he's a twat. What? Like, excuse my language of all of this stuff right now, but you get where I'm coming from. It's an issue. And like, if you're in a relationship right now or quite deep with someone you've been seeing for a number of months and you're realizing this personality doesn't outweigh the looks, it's a problem. Like, you're not necessarily going to want to be with someone if that's the case, right? Like, I couldn't be with someone who was stunning, beautiful, and on the back end of it all was just a headache. It's true, right? You're not going to want to like continue something there. So it's another thing to consider when it comes down to all of this shit. Like, is it really worth it long term? And if you're in that position right now, I'd think about it. Like, don't get me wrong, people can change, but someone with the right personality would look at the situation and realize that, yo, shit, I'm actually bugging out right now. I'm not actually making my partner any happier than they need to be. I'm really making the situation worse. I want to learn how I can improve and grow. And, you know, that's a green tick. That's a gold star. We love people like you because you are willing to learn, adapt, grow, and evolve. But there are some people who are going to tell you, no, why should I change? And don't get me wrong, people shouldn't have to change. People want to change. If you're in that scenario right now where someone's just being a dick towards you and you just aren't really feeling it despite how good looking they are, why aren't you thinking twice about leaving? I did a whole episode with Ange about narcissistic traits. Shout out Ange, legend. If you're in that scenario right now and the personality and the traits and everything is really just making you upset, angry, and and the worst case is depressed. Like, do you really want to think about it? The next point I said was struggling to understand you. This is a big one for me. And I try to echo this towards all of my clients that I speak to who are in these scenarios. No one is meant to understand what it's like to be in your shoes, right? In these Jordan Space Jams right now, no one's meant to understand what it's like to be in my shoes right now, because you haven't seen the world in my eyes. You haven't lived the life I've lived, and I can appreciate that and understand that and accept that. But it's important I can speak and be with someone who gets it, who can try to understand it. She won't fully understand it, but can get to a position and empathize. Not just necessarily just throw things back in my face and make me feel bad for it. And what I mean by that is, like, my relationship with my family is very unique and different to other relationships with, other people and their relationships with their family. Me, my dad, we call each other geese. We're like boys at times. At the same time, we can be quite disrespectful to one another, and it's just banter and we're cool, but it's fine. Me and my mum, I've got enough love for her. Mumsy, love her to bits. At the same time, the way I may talk to her at times and the way she may talk to me can be a bit like, whoa, that's not really normal, and that's fine. I don't need you to really, I don't need you to agree with how things are going in my household right now. As an example, the way I speak to these people, I just need you to accept the fact that this is our relationship and this is what it is. You need to understand that. This is how I've been brought up. This is the way they brought me up. This is how it works, unfortunately. If you don't like that, that's cool. Maybe we should go down different paths, because if you feel like I'm going to be disrespectful moving forward, that's on you. You really don't want to understand me and get to know me in that and realize that, I'm good in this scenario because these are my parents and I've been brought up this way. But obviously in different scenarios, I'm going to be a different person. Cool. So it's a big one, because I feel like some people just don't understand why people make decisions they make, people do the things that they do, and they create an argument and a scenario from it. And that's not cool. That shit don't fly. And I feel like if someone is in that scenario right now where they don't support you, they don't understand where you're coming from, you've got a business venture, you've got a new job you want to embark on, you've got a new career, you want to go to the gym, you don't want to go to the gym, whatever it is. If someone's not supportive and just doesn't understand, if that conversation doesn't get resolved, and if there isn't some sort of like upward trajectory, I'll be saying bye, but that's just me. And lastly, this whole constant clash, where they struggle to accept, where they don't struggle to accept and let go. What I mean by that is, and when I say the word clash, I just think of Stormzy and Dave. You're going to argue in relationships. You're going to argue in situationships. You're going to argue in dating. It's an inevitability. Why? Because like I've just said, we see things in different eyes. We've been brought up differently, different values. It is what it is. It's fine. When you have a constant clash with someone who generally doesn't want to accept where you are coming from, it creates a problem. And I feel like I might be repeating myself now with number 4. But what I'm trying to get at is, like, I have been in a scenario where I can accept where they're coming from. I can accept their viewpoint, and I may not agree with it 9 times out of 10. Well, I won't. But if they don't accept me, if they can't, like the common term is agree to disagree, right? We agree to disagree and we'll leave it there. If you can't accept the fact that I am offended by you, I am disrespected by what you've just said, and you're going to throw it back in my face, that's not cool. That's a red flag to me. That's not something I want to like sit with, because it's a case of like, it's going to be your way always, and I'm going to be the one that constantly has to roll over and understand where you're coming from, yet you will never understand where I'm coming from. So maybe I should put 4 and 5 together. Let me just rewrite that right now. There's only 4 points. Essentially, yeah, clashing with someone who just doesn't want to understand you, get where you're coming from, is definitely a red flag for me. I've been in those scenarios and I walk away from them. Why? Because it's not worth my time and energy to try and explain to someone why they should be a bit more understanding and respectful in regards to where I come from. And at the same time, it just doesn't do me any justice trying to explain it and trying to prove a point. Like, it is what it is. And yeah, that was a ramble. How long did I go for? Did I go for long? not that bad. But yeah, this has been your boy Uncle Pre. Definitely want to talk about this because I feel like it's a hot topic. It's what people are going through right now, and kind of applicable in regards to like your friends as well. Should you call it a day with a friend or a family relative in some way where you kind of walk away from the depth of the relationship based on the fact of the energy ain't reciprocated, your wavelengths are completely off, maybe not looks and personality on this front, but like they just don't understand you and you're constantly clashing? It could be something worth considering. So yeah, I hope this has helped. I do love doing these solo episodes where I can just get loose on the microphone and just get very unfiltered. I hope you lot are enjoying it too. Again, if there are any topics that you would like me to discuss, if there's anything that you'd like me to hear, or if you've got genuine things that you want me to address but don't want to come on the podcast for whatever reason, by all means get in touch. Your boy wants to hear about it. We love making this community grow, and so if you are listening to this right now, again, please do like, comment and subscribe. It helps me learn with the analytics, what topics do well, what don't, and generally what I can push out more of. So yeah, thank you for listening. It's been your boy Uncle Pre, and I'm signing out. Peace.